Dom DeMarco.
Fresh and Fit Money Clips. Catch the latest scoop on the life and business with Myron Fresh and special guest Top G Andrew Tate. Brought to you by Moneyclips on a quick YouTube short pod. For the full-length podcast, dive into the details on Rumble. Don't miss a beat. Tune in, stay informed, and follow the success journey with Myron Fresh and Top G Andrew Tate on the Fresh and Fit Podcast Money Monday show.
This shitty job. You guys helped me change my life. You guys kept me from, doing terrible things to myself, etc. When are you going to do another podcast? And I told you guys for a while, look, man, Andrew's dealing with some things. We're controversial as hell. We might not be the best people to necessarily do a fucking collab right now. And at the end of the day, bro, when you're buddies with somebody, you're buddies with somebody. You don't need to fucking do a collab on the internet
every single day.
That shit, man.
Yeah, we had to delay it, unfortunately, because it's kind of funny. My last Fresh and Fit appearances are word for word in my case file.
Crazy, bro.
Word for word. So there's pages and pages and pages of these case files of evidence, and there's no evidence. It's just translated YouTube videos. But my Fresh and Fit one. So somewhere deep in a Romanian dungeon beneath a courthouse, underneath my file number, on some particular page, somewhere, if you find it, you can see me call a girl, what, Taekwondo?
Yeah. Taekwondo?
Number one, rumble.com/FreshFit, guys. We are on Rumble. I know you guys are probably like, yo, what, Martin Fresh, why are y'all on Rumble? Well, content like this is not safe for YouTube a lot of the time. So, you got to be able to, say and do what you want to do over there on Rumble on the other side of the internet.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right.
Allowed to make people laugh because someone will get offended and someone will cry about it, and they're like, you call women hoes. No, I don't. I call hoes hoes. I call hoes hoes. I do. If you're a hoe, I'll call you a hoe. If you're a nice woman, I'll call you a nice woman. I'm not going to go through life lying to myself or lying to anybody else. I think the number one masculine imperative on the planet is being the kind of person who says what he means and means what he says. I think that's actually a very good measure of how masculine you are and how much control you have over your own life. Can you say what you think? Because most men can't. They can't tell their wife what they think because she'll leave. They can't tell their boss what they think because they'll lose their job. Mm-hmm. So they can't tell their friends what they think or their friends will alienate them because they're a bad person. So these people going through the world with these thoughts stuck in their head they can't say. And that's permanent cuckdom. I refuse to do it. I'm going to say what I mean and mean what I say. And I don't think that men should be weak and small and frail. And if I find one, I'm going to call him a little bitch. And I don't think women should be promiscuous. And if I find one, I'm going to call her a hoe. And he says something like, stress is mine, peace is yours, sadness is mine, happiness is yours, but you are mine. And he's writing to his woman saying that my life is not fun. My life is stress and pain and hardship and difficult. You have a great life. I give it to you, but I get you by extension. And that's why it's worth it to me. And I think it's the same with children. If you're a man and you have your stuff in order, and truthfully, there's going to become a day, Fresh. I know you're out there living big. But there's going to come a day where you're bored of the club, and you're bored of the hoes, and you're bored of all the fun ain't fun anymore. And you're going to say, well, what's going to make my life worth living? Well, how about I have a little version of me and try and make them a better version of me?
Yeah.
Not just replicate me, but make them a better version of me. And love is your link to the future. And I'm telling you, my only regret with having children is I didn't start earlier, and I don't have 200 of them. There's literally no downside. They're not as expensive as people say they are. It's not difficult. I mean, a lot of it's down to the mother you have them with, right?
Right.
If the mother's out of control, then they become expensive.
Holy.
Then they become difficult. But if the mother respects you and she listens to you and lets you be a man, then it's easy. Bro, the poorest people in the world have kids. Your dog costs more than a kid will. Your Lambo costs a lot more than the kid ever will.
That is true.
So kids aren't even expensive, and often you see women going, oh, I need this, or he needs that, I need that. No, you're bored, and you want to put him in designer clothes and dress him up in designer clothes because you want to go shopping for designer clothes for your little kid like a doll because you're bored, and you want him to be a little model. Well, guess what? He's going to do push-ups. He has 2 t-shirts. He has 2 pairs of trousers. Mm-hmm. And if he's bored, push-ups are endless and free. You feel happy as a man when you feel respected and needed. You need a purpose. People need to need you alive. If you're the kind of man who everyone's life can function perfectly fine if you get hit struck by lightning, then you're not going to feel happy. You're going to feel happy when you realize that people need you. And for them to need you, you have to be useful and you have to be competent. And whether that's children or your girlfriend or your parents or anyone else who cares about you, I think living for other people is one of the most beautiful things a man can do because it gives you a purpose, a higher purpose. And most of the men out there who live normal lives do exactly that. Why do they work jobs? They work jobs for other people. They don't do it for themselves. Yeah. They don't even keep most of the money. It goes on the kid, the wife, the house, and they're taking care of others. And that's a masculine imperative God has instilled in us, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think if you're going to do that, you may as well do it for your own offspring. Who else are you doing it for? The Matrix came for me. I knew they were going to. I kept saying on every single podcast, the Matrix was going to come for me.
Called
it. If they, in fact, there was a podcast I did 2 weeks before it. I think they were called Strike It Big in London. And I said, if you see me on the news, you see me on the news with some bullshit charges, I want you to know that it's fake. And I expected it to come. I was trying my best to Aikido it. I had no idea it would be human trafficking. I know they normally choose a sexual crime because the primary objective is to damage your image amongst the populace. So they have to choose a heinous crime. If they came at me for, I don't know, tax evasion, who would care? Nobody. So they have to come at you for the most heinous thing they can. The whole rape charge garbage, everyone's bored of it, so they've decided to up the game with me and come with human trafficking. But I was in bed and I heard my door getting banged on. 5 o'clock in the morning. I reached for the gun, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was pretty relieved when I saw the police. I thought it was the other team. I thought this might have been the final showdown. And I was like, oh, okay, who are these, you know, the Serbians, the Albanians, the Turks, which ones got in? Yeah. And then once I saw the cops, I was like, oh, thank fuck it's you guys. And for the first hour, I was quite relieved that it was police and no one else. And then there was this 15-hour house search, and they went through all my stuff and stole all my things and stole all my cars and stole all my watches and stole all my cash. And
did you know at that point that you were going to go in, or did like, because they had done this before, like a year prior, and then obviously they gave you all your stuff back, and there was nothing there.
I was done. Yeah, it was done before prior, and I was released in like 4 or 5 hours because they knew there was no case, and all of our stuff was given back. So I was kind of like, what is this about? And the police are not particularly helpful. They're like, you're going to find out. Sit here. We're robbing you. I said, okay, well, you just sit there and get robbed. Unless you want to escalate it and make it worse for yourself. Yeah. But there's like 25 dudes with shotguns in the house. I mean, how far can you get? I know I like to think I'm Jason Bourne, but I might get clipped on the way out and be able to run slow. And so what can you do, right? And and you go to jail and they say, okay, the judge is going to decide if you stay in jail or not. And you go to the judge and the judge says, yeah, you're going to stay overnight. And you're like, okay. And the next judge decides if you stay longer than that. And they decide you stay, and then you go to the appeal, and they decide you stay. And I was in court once a week thinking I'm going to get out, and it's just extension. It's pretty crazy, and you're in a situation where you have absolutely no control over any of it. You're thrown in a jail cell, and when I was told it was for human trafficking, I didn't even understand. Because of the time it happened a few days before New Year's. The paperwork hadn't been translated, and they couldn't get hold of a translator because of holidays and stuff. So I had this paperwork in Romanian, which I can't read. But for the first 2 weeks, I literally didn't know why I was in jail. They said human trafficking. I'm like, human trafficking who? Yeah. When? What are you talking about? Yeah. And they said, you have to wait for your papers. 2 weeks later, I get the papers and find out that I had been giving timings to some friends of mine of when is the best time to post on TikTok. And that is how they got me for human trafficking. Wow. And I can't say I was surprised. I mean, I knew the case was bullshit because I knew I hadn't human trafficked anyone. But I can't say I was surprised. And then you're in there and you're like, okay, well, this is obviously a garbage case they fabricated deliberately to throw me in jail so they can find a real case. And they know they don't have a case right now. They come up with some garbage to throw me in jail to find something I've actually done. And a lot of the people at home don't understand, especially my haters, etc. I will argue this right now. I don't know how many people are watching us. I'm cleaner than 99.9% of people who are watching this stream. I've been investigated by 3 or 4 different federal agencies and special services from different countries my entire life, head to toe. Anyone I have ever spoken to in my entire life has been questioned. And they found out that I made some old videos and made some jokes, and I told some girls what hours to do TikTok. That's what they found. If you take the average man and put him through the level of inspection I've been through, you're going to find a lot worse. You're going to find a lot worse. So I haven't really done anything wrong, and now we're in court with this current case about the TikTok timings, and the judge keeps giving us more and more freedom, saying there's no evidence here, this is garbage, and it looks like it's on its way out. But I don't know, maybe I'm a pessimist or maybe I'm a realist, but I believe that war is never ending. It's just cyclical and it changes, and when this war is over, another war will come, or another war will come before this one ends. And I don't think there'll ever be a day where I wake up and it's just peace and serenity. I think I'm going to wake up and there'll be some other battle going on, and currently we're winning. We might get a setback and sent back to jail. You just have to be man enough to deal with all of it. What else can you do? And I mean, I don't want to talk about anything illegal. I'm just talking about how the world actually works. But you need to have multiple jurisdictions that at least you have some degree of finance in.
Yeah.
You can't have it all in one jurisdiction. You can't have it all in one bank. The average person has it all in one bank, bro.
Yeah.
One bank on one address. And they sit there and go, that's my money and this is my house. Newsflash, sir.
It's not.
They are not yours, because all it takes is for the police to go and find some judge who you've never heard of to stamp a piece of paper, and then you're going to lose it all. And then you're going to have to sit there and try and get it back. And they're going to say, your way to get it back is a lawyer. And the lawyer's going to say, give me money, please. And you're going to say, well, I don't have any. And that's it. It's lawfare. It's a form of warfare. And the goal is to damage your influence and bankrupt you, which is what they've attempted to do to me. As we sit here now, it's been a year and 5 months, I think. I haven't had access to a single dollar. I still don't have any access to any money. I still don't have my cars. I still don't have my diamond watches. I still don't have my gold. All of my things have been taken from me. Yeah. And it's been a year and 5 months. It might be years and years more. How would the average person, if you're sitting at home, pay your bills for a year and 5 months with no income and all of your savings taken? How would you do it? How would you pay for your lawyers? How would you pay for your children? How would you buy new diamond watches? How would you fill up the cars on the driveway again? You got to think about these things before it happens.
Yeah.
Like everyone's looking for the remedy. Prevention's better than a cure. And you have to understand, as a man in the world today, and I don't think many men at home truly understand this, you're all fucked. You are all guilty of everything. If you are a man with a penis, you are guilty. All it takes in any state in America, it doesn't matter if it's a liberal state, conservative state, whatever, it takes one woman who knew you to go into a police station and accuse you of something. And your life is basically done. That's all it takes. And she doesn't need evidence. She doesn't even need to remember when it happened. It didn't even need to happen.
Yep. Andrew.
She can just call up and say, yeah, I think I was around him. I was drunk. It was April of 2017 and he was aggressive and I don't remember I was drunk. You're going to get arrested. They're going to come and arrest you for that.
That's what it's coming to.
Did you ever think, Andrew, coming to Romania, you left America, you left England, kids in Romania, that a girl could come here randomly and destroy your life like that?
Well, Romania is actually a very sensible country, and a lot of people have given Romania a hard time for what it did to me, and I have to be very logical, because I think if you remove the emotionality from events and try to find your fault in them, which is what I do because I believe in absolute self-accountability, so I blamed myself for going to jail. Yes, it's a matrix attack. Yes, I'm innocent. Yes, a girl lied. Yes, but I'm still blaming myself. What have I done that put me in jail? And I became massively, monumentally influential on the internet. I said things that the government and the power structure did not like. I then understood that a judge who's looking at my case, and I'm logical. If you're a judge and you sit and then you hear human trafficking, and then I'm brought in there and I'm Mr. fucking skinhead with my muscles, and I walk in there and they go, okay, Bugatti, Ferrari, Koenigsegg, yacht, jet, girl, okay, yeah. Probably jail. I understand how these things happened, and I'm not emotional about it. I'm not bitter about it. But the fact that an American girl came here and made a false accusation and managed to create such a mess, would that have been possible without me being monumentally famous in a country like Romania? No. They would have laughed her out of the police station, because they're actually very sensible here.
Right. Which they did laugh her out the first time.
They laughed her out the first time.
For all you fucking haters, they laughed her out the first time.
They laughed her out the police station when the first call was made in April. And then there was a 6 or 7 month delay in which nothing at all happened. And then when I was canceled online, when they deleted all my social media and started putting in the mainstream media that I'm dangerous and I need to be taught a lesson because I'm misogynistic and I'm damaging the population and I'm basically fighting against their psyops. At the same time, the case was picked back up and they decided to put me in jail for this TikTok thing. Now, I have to be careful what I say, but I think people at home with a brain can understand. When the global powers decided to silence me, the case was then picked back up. I'll let you do the math.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I was guilty, the first night I was arrested, I would have never been released, of course. She was laughed out of the police station for a reason. And then all of this was picked back up, and you can go down the rabbit hole as to whether Romania did that or other powers did that or how that happened. But all I can do is face the judicial system of Romania and trust in God and trust in justice. And what else can I do? I'm not going to run away. I'm not a coward. So you just have to face it and be a man and just get up every day and do what you got to do and pay for your kids and get rich and stay strong and train hard and see it as a blessing from God that gives you an opportunity to become a stronger, better version of yourself. All the hardship grows you. So I'm going to be a stronger man post this episode than I was beforehand. So I just have to see it as a blessing. I truly do see it in a way as a blessing.
Yeah.
That's how I approach it.
That's a good outlook.
Andrew, I gotta ask. So obviously, you know, very outspoken. You were the most famous man in 2022, right? Most Googled man, right? You beat out Trump and Kim Kardashian and everybody else. What comments was it that they had the biggest point of contention with?
Well, they clipped a few of my comments and used them as an excuse. They weaponized some virtue, saying that he's a misogynist or he's homophobic or he's whatever. Yeah. They use these buzzwords, and they found a few particular clips that they used to weaponize against me. And they don't actually care about women. They don't. When they say you're a misogynist, they don't say that because they're truly interested and invested in the well-being of females. Not at all. They just want to weaponize their pretend virtue at you.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. But truthfully, I think the reason they didn't like me is because I inspired bravery amongst the populace.
Influence.
It's influence. I made the young boys of the world sit and think. Mm-hmm. And men would stand up now and say, no, I deserve better. No, I'm going to train hard. No, I will not accept that. From a man, from a woman, from a job, from a government. I was inspiring bravery. And when you inspire bravery, effectively you're raising an army. And they saw it as an insurgency. They saw me as a national security threat. They saw people getting in large crowds and protesting under my name. They saw Top G posters everywhere. And the government sat down and thought, this is a problem. And we have to deal with this problem. This man is inspiring rebellion or inspiring a degree of discontentment with the Matrix organized and Matrix purported agendas, especially among the subgroup of the populace that they have the largest problem psyoping, which is the young military age males. They need men more than ever. If you psyop women, or you get the women to do something and get upset, okay, that's bad for our country, of course, because women have important jobs. But when the men get upset, you have a real big problem, because you need the men to build the roads and go die in a war. Yep. You need to build the skyscrapers. Everything, single thing around us is built by men. This house was built by men. The road that leads here was built by men. The street lights were installed by men. These cameras were built by men. The store where the cameras, you bought them from, there was a guy. It's electric wires that run the cameras was men. It was all men. So if you have men saying, no, we deserve better, we have rights. No, I want my wife to respect me. No, I'm not going to accept this garbage anymore. If you try and tell men not to be slaves, they start to panic. A huge subsect of the populace are slaves, and they cannot resist the slave mind. They will tell you and repeat anything they are told without critical thinking. They will not sit and analyze
not look at the evidence.
They will not look at the evidence. They will simply repeat it. I argue right now that if they were to start putting on all the MSM that the sky is green, you would find a percentage of the population who would begin to sit and argue with you that the sky is green. Yeah. And I talk about the Matrix and how you need to resist the slave mind. The Matrix is the terminology I use because in the Matrix, they purport a false version of reality in which people believe inside of their minds so that their body heat can be harvested for the machine minds, and they can be distracted long enough for their organic material to be used and discarded. And it's exactly the same for the people at home. They believe exactly what they're told in the news. They don't have any clue about how the world really works or the truth about what's being done to them. They're good slaves. They pay their taxes. They may be depressed and unhappy, but their taxes are paid. They sit in their sexless marriages until they eventually die. And if anyone who thinks the Matrix isn't real, you can see people in real time turn into agents. In the Matrix, when you try and speak against the Matrix or do something to damage the Matrix, a person who's plugged in becomes an agent instantly. Bro, during COVID, you saw agents. I would sit and have a perfectly normal, logical conversation with somebody and actually think, oh, that's quite a smart person, until I said COVID's bullshit.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's bullshit? What do you mean it's bullshit? My grandma was sick. I was like, bro, your grandma's sick. Your grandmas always get sick. My grandma was sick before COVID. Yeah. And she'll be sick after COVID. What are you talking about? No, she's 96. She died. What does that have to do with me saying that they shouldn't be locking me, a healthy military-age male, in my house? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they become an agent. They swap. And these are the people who are walking around saying, human trafficker, I am an agent for the Matrix, he's a human trafficker, lover boy method. What does that mean? I don't know. Andrew's a misogynist. What does misogynist mean? I don't know. Yes. Misogynist. Bro, they are fucking slaves, these people. They are slave-minded individuals, and that is what's truly scary because they managed to do this to the population. We're not even in the AI age yet. They haven't even put the chips in our brains yet. These people are supposed to be free-minded and free-thinking, and they sit there and just watch the news
and believe it,
or watch a YouTube video, and they don't sit there and go, Vince McMahon, a very famous billionaire, and he bought her a whole bunch of presents. Well, if a woman gets with a billionaire boyfriend, she probably expects presents, yeah. And they had a sexual kink, and they did it together for years. And he paid her endless money, and she enjoyed it. And now that the money's dried up, she's upset. That doesn't cross their mind. They're just going to sit there and repeat, human trafficker, slave.
Andrew, it gets better.
Bro.
It gets better. The public is so stupid that she actually listed in her lawsuit all the gifts he gave her, and people still sit there and call him a trafficker.
I think to summarize the slave mind is not asking the question why. If you ask why this is happening, and you do some summary, I want to say skills of deduction, you can see overall why it's happening. If you see why it's happening, you can say, okay, you know what, this makes sense. But if you don't ask the question why,
which
you're
I
like, oh, I believe
before.
everything
The
I
Royal
see.
Rumble, TKO,
Yeah.
going public, the stock market, hitting the stock market, the Rock
Ask the
being
question
a partner.
why.
Like, and the thing that scares me is that she put all this in her lawsuit that Vince McMahon had given her millions of dollars. That he gave her $20,000 for surgery. That he gave her all this, and the people still sit there, have the gall to say he's a trafficker. Why do I say all this? I say all this to bring it back full circle. Guys, we live in a retarded world where most of you don't even know what human trafficking is. I fucking investigate. I know what human trafficking is, motherfuckers. I arrested real human traffickers, okay? And let me tell you, I've read his case extensively. I've read the Vince McMahon case extensively. It's not fucking human trafficking when it's consensual, motherfuckers. But that's what we're getting to, guys, where a girl can retroactively withdraw consent and say, well, you flew me out here, so now it's trafficking, even though it's consensual back then. We're getting into scary times. And the thing that scares me even more is the general public don't have critical thinking skills to go and look at the documents and be like, what the fuck, bitch? This ain't no trafficking.
And that's the only way to keep men safe, is if the public don't believe it. And then you said the word consent, which is an interesting word. Do you ever have consent if it can be retrospectively revoked?
No.
Do you ever have, they talk about, you need to get consent before sex. And we always joke about the fact you're supposed to get out a piece of paper before sex and ruin the mood and her sign.
NDAs.
Yeah.
Even if you did that,
Yep.
if she decides to retrospectively remove that consent and take you to court, regardless of the fact she signed a piece of paper.
She signed an
saying
NDA in
that
Vince's case.
That's right. So you never even have consent as a man anymore in the West. Back into what we were saying earlier about how men find their happiness through other people. When I felt the worst, I would do my best to make other people happy because it made me happy. When I felt the worst, I'd give away the most cigarettes, or I'd give the biggest compliment to the dinner lady, or when the guard would come, I'd say, "Oh, hi guys, yeah, really nice to meet you." I'd be as nice as possible to other people when I felt bad because it made me feel better. And that's how you get through it. You just have to get along with people. And it's kind of weird that you can have a jail full of killers and psychos, bro. I accidentally bumped into people who'd killed 3 or 4 people, and he'd apologize to me, and I'd apologize to him. This guy's a killer. And we'd apologize to each other and move on. It's kind of strange how people can just get along when you're in that kind of scenario. I mean, it can go very wrong, but it can also go pretty right. And it was a unique, surreal experience. I don't think many people from the West have ever been to jail in an Eastern European country like that.
Oh, yeah. What would you say, what were the top things that you took away from jail? Like that made you learn things about yourself that you might have not known?
I think I learned a lot about basic human behaviors, not only my own, but a lot of them. I think the thing that was most pertinent to me was how often we deliberately distract ourselves in the outside world. If you start to think a thought that you don't like, you pull out your phone, or you go on your computer, or you go to the gym. Or if you start to think of someone, you message them, or you call them. Or if you think of a problem, you message the person who can fix the problem. You have instant access to so many things. Only in jail was I stuck with a thought about somebody and I couldn't contact them, or stuck with a thought I didn't want to have and I couldn't distract myself very easily. Here in the outside world, if you're sitting at home watching this and you start thinking of your ex and you miss her a little bit, you turn on the Nintendo and then it's done. But in jail, it's not done. You're stuck with it. And that's why all these men, I mean, I think we had 3 or 4 suicides when I was in there, but a lot of the people would kill themselves because you're stuck in this loop in your mind. If you don't have the mental control to force yourself to do push-ups, or force yourself to be happy and distract yourself with something asinine, or force yourself to change your own thoughts, you're gonna sit there in a cycle of depression and sadness. So I think the thing I learned the most is how distracted we are in the outside world and how often we deliberately distract ourselves. All of us do it. You won't notice. Next time you start to think anything remotely 1% negative, I guarantee you grab your phone. That's what you'll do. If you're on a jet, if you're on a plane and turbulence gets bad, you'll just, let me put me down. It's just what we do as humans. But in jail, you can't do that. You're like, well, that's shit. Yeah, that is shit. Cockroaches. Fuck. And you're stuck with it. I guess it's a mental test. It's certainly interesting.
One thing I noticed from seeing you now, right after being out versus before, you're on your phone way less.
Yeah, I
Way less.
Yeah, I am on my phone.
Oh my God, Andrew, when I first met you, bro, yo, Myron, this thing goes on his phone from the airport all the way to the crib, bro. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I noticed right away. It's like you're on your phone way less. Would
Yeah,
you
it's
say,
true.
like jail pretty much like made that?
Yeah, when I first came out of jail, I didn't like using it at all. And now I find myself slowly getting addicted to it again. And we have a lot of things to do, all of us men, and we have businesses to run, and girls to talk to, and we have things to do, and work, etc. And we use our phones. But I mean, it was kind of cool that conversations were interesting again. My brother and I, and also some of the other guys in there. There were guys in there who'd killed 3 or 4 people or had moved tons of cocaine or whatever it was. I had 6-7 hour long conversations that were riveting. Like, I can't having a conversation now. It's interesting, okay, but you're half looking at your phone and you're half thinking about what you're gonna do afterwards, and you order some food halfway through. But in jail, you can talk to someone like it's amazing. You hear stories from people, and you're like, whoa, like a 2-hour story, and talking is interesting again. People socialize. It's really weird how in the outside world, how broken we are. We can't even socialize with each other properly. If you go to jail long enough, you're going to learn about fraternity and brotherhood and conversations and all the stuff that people used to value, you value in jail. The laughing and the jokes and making fun of each other, all those great things that we have a version of out here in the free world, but they're heavily watered down. Whereas in jail, bro, if you hear a good joke, you're laughing for 3 hours.
Yeah,
your brother.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else, bro. And it can be the stupidest joke in the world. Someone will ask for a Pringle, and you'll throw them an empty Pringle tube, and everyone will laugh at them. And it's funny for like 45 minutes for some reason, because there's just nothing else going on. In the outside world, we're just too easy to entertain. We all have a degree of ADHD, and we're all permanently distracted, and we're all chasing dopamine, and it's just a different reality. It's different.
Tristan Tate, your brother.
Yeah.
How important is brotherhood? Because obviously you're in a cell with your brother, telling stories probably from the past experiences. How important was your brother being there for you in jail?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have wished for a better cellmate. It doesn't get better than that. We never argued. We never disagreed. My brother has a superpower. My superpower is I care about everything all the time, and I'm very nitpicky, and I want everything done right, and I get stressed and trying to find a way to escape, and I want everything done my way. And my brother's superpower is he doesn't care about anything.
Yeah, that's
fearless, bro.
People think we're the same, but we're not. His superpower is that he really did not care, and if I felt like tapping into his energy, I could.
He laughs about it now still.
Yeah. If I felt myself too stressed, I mean, I'm sitting there reading the case file, and I'm reading Romanian law, and I'm translating it word by word with the dictionary, and I'm trying to get myself out, and he's just sitting there watching Judge Judy. Didn't care. We had a little TV in the corner, and the channels would randomly change, and if Judge Judy came on, he'd be like, yes, real justice, and he'd just sit there. He didn't care at all. So if I wanted to stop myself caring and calm down, then I would just tap into his energy. So, I mean, he was a fantastic cellmate to have. The worst person you can have in jail is someone who's going to be like, oh, bro, this is unfair. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, my life's ruined. Like a moaner. It's like going to war. If you're in the trenches, the last thing you need the person next to you crying their eyes out because you're getting shot at. It's like you need happy people, and Tristan was fantastic at that.
Yo, Myron.
Thank you for tuning into this exclusive Money Monday episode with Myron, Fresh, and Top G, Andrew Tate, brought to you by Moneyclips. For the full-length podcast, head over to Rumble. Subscribe now to stay updated on the latest in life and business. Join the journey with Myron, Fresh, and Top G, Andrew Tate on the Fresh and Fit podcast. Subscribe, stay informed, and keep it fresh. Fresh and Fit Money Clips. Push it to the limit.